From New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Coming up in the next hour. US General monitors first withdrawal of Israeli troops from Lebanon. Lebanese Prime Minister terms it as fundamental step in implementation of ceasefire decision. US President-elect Donald Trump seeks to hit the diplomatic ground running as he prepares for office, has invited China's Xi Jinping to attend inauguration ceremony on January 20th next year. South Korean President Yoon says he will prefer impeachment over quitting, calls his opponents anti-state forces. Protests still continue over attempt to impose martial law. India's D. Gukesh and China's Ding Liren continue to slug it out for coveted title at World Chess Championship. Score remains locked at 6.5. No result in final match will pave way for a tiebreaker decider. And Saudi Arabia to host Men's Soccer World Cup in 2034. Spain, Portugal and Morocco named co-hosts for 2030 edition. A top story. Israeli forces conducted a first withdrawal from a town in South Lebanon and were replaced by the Lebanese military under a ceasefire deal which came into effect on November 27. Though both sides have accused the other of repeated violations. As part of the agreement, the Lebanese army and United Nations peacekeepers will deploy in southern Lebanon as the Israeli army withdraws over a period of 60 days. Hezbollah is also meant to withdraw its forces north of the Litani River, about 30 kilometers from the border, and dismantle its military infrastructure in southern Lebanon. Lebanese Prime Minister Najib Mikati hailed the development and said that the stationing of its troops represents a fundamental step towards strengthening the army's deployment in the south and in implementation of the ceasefire decision. And the UN General Assembly on Wednesday adopted a resolution calling for an immediate and unconditional ceasefire in Gaza. The resolution was adopted by a vote of 158-9 with 13 abstentions, with United States and Israel among who rejected. The General Assembly often finds itself taking up measures that cannot get through the Security Council, which has been largely paralyzed on hot-button issues such as Gaza and Ukraine due to internal politics, and this time is no different. Washington has insisted on the idea of making a ceasefire conditional on the release of all hostages in Gaza, saying otherwise that Hamas has no incentive to free those in captivity. Deputy U.S. Ambassador Robert Wood repeated that position Wednesday, saying it would be shameful and wrong to adopt the text.
The messages we send to the world through these resolutions matter. And both of these resolutions have significant problems. One rewards Hamas and downplays the need to release the hostages, and the other denigrates Israel without providing a path forward to increasing humanitarian assistance to Palestinian civilians.
And ahead of the vote, Israel's UN envoy Danny Danon said that this vote is not a vote for compassion, but a vote for complicity.
By voting for these resolutions, you are not voting to protect humanitarian values, but to protect an organization that has become a haven for terror. You vote for the resolutions knowing the truth, knowing that UNRWA is not a neutral actor, but an entity hopelessly infiltrated by Hamas.
Dozens of representatives of UN member states addressed the assembly before the vote to offer their support to the Palestinians. Palestinian UN Ambassador Riyad Mansour said that Gaza today is bleeding heart of Palestine.
Gaza today is the bleeding heart of Palestine and open, painful wound for the human family. Stop the bleeding and restore life in Gaza so it can be once again the beating heart of Palestine. Stop the bleeding so we can restore credibility to our international system, so we can ensure it for future generations, so our people can live, so our region can thrive, so that international peace and security can be preserved.
A second resolution calling on Israel to respect the mandate of the UN agency supporting Palestinian refugees, UNRWA, and allow it to continue its operations was passed Wednesday by a vote of 159-9 with 11 abstentions. Israel has voted to ban the organization starting January 28 after accusing some UNRWA employees of taking part in Hamas's devastating attack. Now, a shooting attack on a bus in the West Bank left 4 people wounded late on Wednesday, including one Israeli boy who was in a critical condition. In a statement, the Israeli military said a terrorist opened fire at an Israeli civilian bus in the area of El Khadr Junction. As a result of the attack, a number of civilians were injured and are currently receiving medical treatment. The area of Bethlehem had been encircled in pursuit of the assailant. An Israeli army released footage on Tuesday showing what it said were troops operating in the buffer zone to protect the residents of the Golan Heights and all Israeli civilians. Israel denied on Tuesday it had advanced into Syria beyond the buffer zone with Israeli-occupied Golan Heights since the overthrow of Syrian President Bashar al-Assad by rebel forces. Israeli troops moved into a demilitarized zone inside Syria set up after the 1973 Middle East War. Israel calls the incursion a temporary measure to ensure border security. Now, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken departed Wednesday for Jordan and later Turkey, seeking to rally regional countries around a common vision for Syria's future following the ousting of longtime authoritarian ruler Bashar al-Assad. The Secretary will reiterate the United States' support for an inclusive Syrian-led transition to an accountable and representative government. He will discuss the need for the transition process and new government to prevent Syria from being used as a base of terrorism or posing a threat to its neighbors. Besides ensuring that a secure and safe destruction of chemical or biological weapons stockpiles take place, Secretary Blinken will also emphasize that displaced Syrians in the region will continue to need access to protection. And in other key developments in Syria, caretaker Prime Minister linked to the rebel group that toppled longtime dictator Bashar al-Assad's regime in Syria has been appointed to oversee the transition of power. Latakia city residents have welcomed the opposition forces amid celebrations following the fall of al-Assad's regime. Meanwhile, the country's Ba'ath Party, which had been led by Assad's family for decades, is suspending its work and activities until further notice. The main commander of the fighters said that he would dissolve the security forces of the former regime, close its prisons and hunt down anyone involved in the torture or killing of detainees. Israel said it struck Syria nearly 500 times in 2 days, hitting most of the country's strategic weapons stockpiles and destroying its Navy fleet. With the administration of U.S. President Joe Biden entering its final weeks in office, Blinken and U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan headed to the Middle East on Wednesday to help ensure a smooth transition in Syria. Their separate itineraries include stops in Jordan, Turkey, Israel, Qatar and Egypt. For refugees, the prospect of returning home has brought a mixture of joy and grief over hardship in exile. Syrians lined up at the Turkish border on Wednesday to head home. The United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres said there were signs of hope in Syria following the overthrow of President Bashar al-Assad by rebel forces over the weekend. Guterres said that the United Nations was committed to a smooth transition of power in Syria.
As we speak, we are witnessing the reshaping of the Middle East, with the changes in the correlation of forces among the key regional actors. with the immense tragedy of the Palestinian people, whose right for self-determination and whose right to have their own state must be constantly reaffirmed. But we also see some signs of hope, and signs of hope namely coming from the end of the Syrian dictatorship.
Now, Spanish Foreign Minister Jose Luis Alvarez said on Wednesday that the international community needs to establish several red lines in any talks with the new Syrian leadership and consider sanctions to ensure a peaceful future for the country. On the other hand, he called for a caution and a debate on whether to remove Hayat Tahrir al-Sham from the list of terror groups after an initial round of talks.
There are several red lines, or at least very clear topics that we must put at the table immediately if they want to engage with us. First of all is that the future of Syria must be peaceful, and therefore we should see what is so far a military movement to be transformed into a political movement. Secondly, the future of Syria must be peaceful, inclusive, and respecting the rights of minorities.
Shifting focus now, Ukrainian forces have lost ground near Pokrovsk, a key city in eastern Ukraine, as Russian troops advance. The city is crucial for Ukrainian logistics and hosts the country's sole domestic coking coal mine. Despite fierce fighting, Russian forces are nearing Pokrovsk from the south, posing a significant threat. The loss of Pokrovsk would be a major setback for Ukraine. Ukrainian commander Alexander Seresky acknowledged the challenging conditions faced by his troops and emphasized the need for unconventional tactics to counter the Russian offensive. Both Ukraine and Russia are anticipating potential peace talks following the US presidential election. Ukraine is seeking to strengthen its position on the battlefield before any negotiations. The focus of the current fighting is near Shevchenko, a village south of Pokrovsk, where Russian forces are attempting to gain a foothold. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has criticized Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban for calling Russian President Vladimir Putin, saying it undermines Western unity. Orban, who has closer ties with Putin than any other European leader, claimed they discussed a potential Christmas ceasefire and prisoner exchange. The Kremlin said Putin told Orban during their phone call that Ukraine's stance excluded the possibility of a peaceful settlement to the conflict. Orban has faced criticism for his close ties with Putin and has repeatedly called for a ceasefire. However, Ukraine has consistently stated that it requires security guarantees, including NATO membership, to prevent Russia from using a ceasefire to prepare for another conflict. Now, Zelensky expressed concerns that Orban's actions could boost Putin's image. The Ukrainian president emphasized that any discussions about the conflict must involve Ukraine. Time now for a very short break, but still to come on this edition of DD India News Hour. FBI Chief Christopher Wray to resign before Trump takes office. Trump picks longtime ally Kash Patel to replace Wray. 9 killed in Haiti in a latest gang attack. And the Iguazu Falls walkway reopens to the public.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. In a televised speech on Thursday, South Korean President Yoon Suk Yeol vowed to fight with the people until the very last minute as he faces an impeachment vote on Saturday. Yoon defended his decision to declare martial law, accusing the opposition of pushing the country into a national crisis. He lashed out at his political opponents as anti-state forces. Yoon added that North Korea may have hacked the country's elections. The move has sparked intense scrutiny, with several of Yoon's inner circle barred from foreign travel and facing arrest. The crisis has reached a boiling point, with the opposition warning of legal action if Yoon's staff continues to obstruct the investigation. Now, tensions in South Korea escalated as 50,000 protesters rallied against President Yoon Suk Yeol, demanding his removal from office. The demonstration came after Yoon's attempt to declare martial law ended in failure, sparking a constitutional crisis. Police attempted to search the presidential office, investigating Yoon and top officials. The country teeters on the brink of chaos as Yoon's presidency hangs in balance. South Korea's ruling party leader Han Dong-hoon said on Thursday, calling for President Yoon Suk Yeol's immediate suspension from duties following his ill-fated declaration of martial law last week. Han emphasized that the only way to achieve this is through impeachment, urging ruling party lawmakers to take a stand.
군 통수권을 비롯한 국정 운영에서
The president should be immediately excluded from state administration, including the military leadership, as long it has been confirmed that the president has no intention of stepping down early. An immediate suspension of his duties is required.
Now, North Korean media reports that public outrage in South Korea is intensifying against President Yoon Suk Yeol following his short-lived declaration of martial law last week. The state media KCNA labeled Yoon a puppet and revealed that impeachment calls are mounting. Yoon's situation has become increasingly dire, with a ban on leaving the country and being named a suspect in investigations over his attempted imposition of martial law. This development comes after Yoon's martial law decree was overturned by Parliament just 6 hours after its announcement. And US President-elect Donald Trump has invited Chinese President Xi Jinping to attend his inauguration next month, US media reported on Wednesday. The invitation to the January 20th inauguration in Washington occurred in early November, shortly after the November 5 presidential election. It was not clear if it had been accepted. Trump said in a recent interview that he got along very well with Xi and they had communication as recently as this week. Trump has named numerous China hawks to key posts in his incoming administration, including Senator Marco Rubio as Secretary of State. Trump has said he will impose an additional 10% tariff on Chinese goods unless Beijing does more to stop the trafficking of the highly addictive narcotic fentanyl. In late November, China's state media warned Trump that his pledge to slap additional tariffs could drag the world's top two economies into a mutually destructive tariff war. FBI Director Christopher Wray announced his resignation effective early next year. The move comes after Republican President-elect Donald Trump signaled his intent to fire Wray and replace him with Kash Patel. This development marks the second time Trump has driven out an FBI director following his firing of James Comey in 2017. Wray's departure is a result of Trump's displeasure with the FBI's investigation into classified documents found at his Florida resort. On his social media platform Truth Social, Trump called Wray's resignation a great day for America.
After weeks of careful thought, I've decided the right thing for the Bureau is for me to serve until the end of the current administration in January and then step down. My goal is to keep the focus on our mission, on the indispensable work each of you is doing every single day. And in my view, this is the best way to avoid dragging the Bureau deeper into the fray while reinforcing the values and principles that are so important in how we do our work. Now, it should go without saying, but I'm going to go ahead and say it anyways. This is not easy for me. I love this place. I love our mission, and I love our people. But my focus is, and always has been, on us and on doing what's right for the FBI.
And the waters around Taiwan remain murky. China's fighter jets and intensified maritime activity in the Taiwan Strait are a show of force. With 53 warplanes, 11 Navy ships and 8 civilian vessels, China is making a bold move. Military experts in Taiwan warn that China is trying to isolate the island. DD India's Mihir Makri takes us to the action.
Tensions are escalating in the Taiwan Strait as China's largest maritime deployment in decades, coupled with intensified warplane activity, raises alarms. Taiwan's presidential office has called on Beijing to halt what it describes as provocative acts.
China's behavior is a blatant disruption of the status quo of security and stability in the Indo-Pacific region, creating uneasiness and uncertainties among the international society. Many world leaders condemn China for violating international terms, threatening regional peace and stability, and call on China to play its part as a member of the region and stop all provocative acts immediately.
Taiwan remains on high alert, tracking 53 Chinese warplanes, 11 Navy ships and 8 civilian vessels near its waters in the past 24 hours. These maneuvers widely seen as a reaction to Taiwanese President Lai Ching-te's recent visit to the United States. China, without confirming new military drills, stated that it is taking necessary measures to safeguard its sovereignty and counter Taiwan's separatist forces.
We are highly vigilant against the action of the separatist forces for Taiwan independence and their collusion with external forces in seeking independence and provocations, and we will never let it go unchecked. We take the necessary measures to resolutely defend the country's sovereignty and territorial integrity, safeguard peace and stability of the Taiwan Strait, and safeguard the fundamental interests of compatriots on both sides of the Taiwan Strait.
The United States has also weighed in.
That's why the PRC has been our pacing challenge for the last 4 years. We talked about their coercive actions in the region, and certainly this latest activity. This is something that we'll continue to monitor. And make sure that that nobody does anything to change the status quo in the Strait.
Military experts in Taiwan believe China's expanded activities are aimed at isolating the island. As the region braces for further military maneuvers, Taiwan remains steadfast, a testament to its resilience and determination to navigate these turbulent waters. Mihir Makri reporting for DD India.
And even after Taliban took over the mantle of power in Afghanistan, terrorist violence has not stopped in the war-torn nation. On Wednesday, the Afghan Minister for Refugees Khalilur Rahman Haqqani was killed in a suicide bombing at the ministry's office in the capital Kabul. Many other officials and government staff present were also killed in their suicide attack. The Islamic State claimed the responsibility of the attack. Taliban authorities have said the attack as cowardly. The attack put a question mark on the stability of Taliban regime, as Khalil-ur-Rahman Haqqani was the brother of Jalaluddin Haqqani, founder of the feared Haqqani network, and he was also uncle of the current Interior Minister Sirajuddin Haqqani. This was also not the first attack targeting a minister since the Taliban returned to power in 2021. In 2022, a blast took place near the Interior Ministry led by Haqqani network leader Sirajuddin Haqqani, killing 4 people. In 2023, Islamic State claimed an attack outside the Taliban-run foreign ministry that killed at least 5. The US Treasury had Khalil classified Haqqani as a specially designated global terrorist in 2011, and the State Department offered a $5 million reward for information leading to his arrest. And US Secretary of State Antony Blinken defended the 2021 US withdrawal from Afghanistan as an ending of the country's longest war that freed resources for other conflicts. In testimony in the House of Representatives on Wednesday, Republican Representative Michael McCall The panel's chairman blasted the administration for the deaths of 13 Americans in a suicide attack at Kabul's airport in August 2021 and for thousands of Afghans who worked with US forces who could not be evacuated as the Taliban took over. Blinken told the House Foreign Affairs Committee hearing that every American who wanted to leave Afghanistan has been given the opportunity to leave. It is likely his final public testimony to lawmakers before leaving office next month.
I firmly believe the President's decision to withdraw from Afghanistan was the right one. American troops are no longer fighting and dying in Afghanistan. The American people are safer and more secure. In fact, many of the most pessimistic predictions have been thoroughly disproven. We were told Afghanistan would once again become a haven for terrorists, and that, as the majority report contends, we would be all but blind to the situation on the ground. In fact, Al-Qaeda, the group that attacked us on 9/11, has not regrouped in Afghanistan.
Now, Somalia and Ethiopia are the two Horn of Africa neighbors who have been in conflict over the Somaliland region have reached an agreement to settle their differences, according to a joint statement released by Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan on Wednesday. During a joint press conference in Ankara, Erdogan expressed gratitude to Somali President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud and Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed for their historic reconciliation.
With the valuable contribution of both countries, we have created a joint declaration text that we have agreed on today. This joint declaration focuses on the future, not the past, and records the principles that these two friendly countries will build from now on. I congratulate both of my brothers for reaching to this historical reconciliation with devotion and thank them for their constructive attitude.
The violence escalated in Haiti as gunmen killed 9 people in the latest spasm of violence by the Caribbean nation's powerful gangs. The attackers kidnapped an undisclosed number of people and set fire to houses. The assault was seen as revenge by gangsters against locals who had helped officers retake control of a police headquarters. As per the United Nations, around 5,000 people have died in the country's unrest this year. Now, Haiti has suffered from decades of instability, but the situation escalated in February when gangs launched coordinated attacks in the capital to overthrow then Prime Minister Ariel Henry. The United States, meanwhile, announced extended restrictions on US flights to Haiti. The new regulation goes into effect from Thursday. Now, France has started the withdrawal of its military from Chad with the departure of 2 warplanes 2 weeks after Chad said it was ending its defense cooperation pact with Paris. In a surprise move, the government of Chad, an ally of the West in the fight against Islamist militants in the region, ended the defense cooperation pact on November 28. Terms and conditions of the withdrawal and whether any French troops will remain in the Central African country altogether have yet to be agreed. But on Tuesday, the first Mirage warplanes returned to their base in eastern France. France has already pulled its soldiers out of Mali, Burkina Faso and Niger following military coups in those West African countries and spreading anti-French sentiment. Now, the Franklin fire in the beach community of Malibu, California raged unchecked on Wednesday after destroying several structures and forcing residents to flee and schools to close in the area. More than 1,500 firefighters were battling the Franklin fire, which officials said was approximately 3,983 acres and is 7% contained as it burned in the steep, rugged terrain northwest of Los Angeles. The fire, which started on Monday night, has destroyed at least 7 structures and damaged 8 others. Evacuation orders and warnings remained in place on Wednesday for parts of the city of 10,000 people. Roadways, including a portion of the Pacific Coast Highway, were shut down as the fire burned nearby. Now let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. The Iguazu Falls walkway reopened to the public on December 11 after being closed due to the high water flow from recent heavy rains. On December 10, the water volume surged to 8.15 million litres per second, over 5 times the usual average. Tourists expressed surprise and awe at the dramatic increase in water volume. with some describing it as the most impressive they had seen in years. Now, the Peruvian city all dazzled up with Santa Claus descending from the sky to light up the Christmas decorations in the main square. The highlight of the event was a sleigh adapted from a front loader decorated with lights and figures simulating flying reindeer, capturing the attention of the public. A pocket watch designed for Queen Marie Antoinette with an incredible number of features, even by today's standards, is among the artifacts on display in an exhibition celebrating the science of the royal court at Versailles. The watch, one of the most beautiful, complex and most expensive ever made, was commissioned in 1783 but was not completed until decades after the Queen's execution. We are slipping into a very short break. On the other side, more stories. Keep watching DD India News Hour.
Nature could easily survive without us. We, however, couldn't really survive without it. But with these environmental problems, how do we make sure to secure our future? Let's find out.
So you just have to bring the sand from one place where it's not needed to the other place where it's needed. So that's called sand bypassing, sand nourishment. So that's the heart of the project.
Remediating the wetland will mean that the life of the wetland comes back to it. And if that happens, there will be money in every household inside that depends on the river.
It doesn't matter whether a farmer is educated, uneducated, skilled or not. This is a user-friendly app. A single touch is all it takes to operate and control the system. Anyone can use the app.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Recap of what we have done so far. US General monitors first withdrawal of Israeli troops from Lebanon. Lebanese Prime Minister terms it as fundamental step in implementation of ceasefire decision. US President-elect Donald Trump seeks to hit the diplomatic ground running as he prepares for office, has invited China Xi Jinping to attend inauguration ceremony on January 20th. South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol says he will prefer impeachment over quitting, calls his opponents anti-state forces. Protests still continue over attempt to impose martial law. India's Di Gukesh and Chinese Ding Liren continue to slug it out for coveted title at World Chess Championship. Score remains locked at 6.5. No result in final match will pave way for a tiebreaker decider. In Bangladesh, a metropolitan court has rejected 3 petitions filed by Supreme Court lawyer Advocate Rabindra Ghosh on behalf of Chinmoy Krishna Brahmachari. The petition sought an expedited hearing date for Chinmoy's bail plea, the submission of case documents and other related reliefs. However, the court dismissed them, citing the absence of a power of attorney from any member of the Chattogram Bar Association. India has expressed hope that the trial will be fair and transparent, as the arrested Hindus have legal rights which should be respected. New Delhi has repeatedly appealed to officials of the interim government in Dhaka to ensure the safety of Hindus and all minorities. Chinmoy Krishna Das was arrested on sedition charges on November 25th from Dhaka airport. Meanwhile, Bangladesh on Tuesday confirmed 88 incidents of communal violence against minorities, primarily Hindus. Acknowledging the attacks against minorities, Dhaka also said that 70 people have been arrested in those incidents. Take a look at this report.
A day after India's Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri raised concerns over the attacks on minorities in Bangladesh and conveyed India's concerns regarding their safety and welfare during meetings with the Bangladeshi leadership, the interim government of Mohammad Yunus confirmed 88 incidents of communal violence targeting minorities, mainly Hindus, after the ouster of former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina in August.
ভায়োলেন্স হয়েছে মাইনরিটিকে টার্গেট করে। তো সেই বিষয়ে আমরা একটা পুলিশের থেকে আমরা একটা প্রতিবেদন পেয়েছি। তারা বলছে যে মোট ৭০ জন সোফার অ্যারেস্টেড হয়েছেন আর ৮৮টা কেস।
There have been a spate of incidents of violence against minorities as well as attacks on temples in Bangladesh in the last few weeks that triggered strong concerns in New Delhi. Referring to the recent attacks on minorities in Sunamganj, Narsingdi, Chattogram and Dhaka, Chief Advisor's Press Secretary Shafiqul Alam said the tally of arrests and cases will increase as some new incidents have happened in those places. Alam further said that no one is arrested on political identity. However, he added that there might be cases where some victims were members of the previous ruling party. Meanwhile, various social and cultural organizations continue to protest across India against attacks on minorities in Bangladesh. Bureau Report, DD India.
All right, to talk more on this, DD India's Naval Sangh Parmar is joining us on the phone line from Bangladesh. Naval Sangh, no relief for Chinmoy Krishna Das after Bangladesh court again rejected his bail plea. What more you can tell us?
Actually, his bail was rejected on 26th November when first applied in the Metropolitan Court of Chattogram. Then that day only, the advocate on behalf of Chinmoy Krishna Das asked for the early hearing for the appeal in the bail case. But that day the court could have been was in a position to hear it, but somehow without citing any reason they denied the hearing of that case. Then on 3rd December there was a hearing in the appeal case of bail petition, and that day many of the advocate who were willing to plead for the Chinmoy Krishna Das have been arrested by the law enforcement agency in some of the cases, criminal cases, in pretext of the violence in the court premises. And the advocate who was representing the Chinmoy Krishna Das, Sebashish Sharma, was intimidated and he was not in position to appear in the court. So court postponed the bail hearing of the Chinmoy Krishna Das on 2nd January. It is a 1 month gap between the first hearing and the next hearing. So meanwhile, the senior advocate from the Supreme Court of Dhaka filed a 3 petition, including one is for the early hearing of the bail application of Chinmoy Krishna Das. The court rejected that bail petition on the ground of absence of wakalatnama. So,
Okay.
but he also mentioned that there is a verdict from High Court and according to that verdict, senior advocate of the Supreme Court can appear in a Metropolitan Court or Sessions Court without wakalatnama, and court could have granted him a hearing. But court didn't consider that case of the Rabindra Ghosh, and again Chinmoy Krishna Das didn't get any relief from the Metropolitan Court of Chattogram.
Okay, Naval Sangh, also talking about those 88 cases that have been registered in incidents involving minorities between August 5 and October 22. This has been taken seriously now by the UNIS-led government, and after India acted tough. You tell us, how is the situation there in Bangladesh? Government making sure that law and order is maintained?
Actually, before 15 days, there were no priority in the UNIS-led government regarding the safety and security of the minority. But once in India, the issue become very loud and clear, and media and other common people in India took up the issues, and even External Affairs Ministry of India took up issue of safety and security of the minority in Bangladesh. Then the government become more sensitive, and they instructed the law enforcement agent to take special care in minority dominated areas where the people have been intimidated or violence or vandalization happened. So they called all party meeting. Then they convened dialogue with the religious leader of Bangladesh, and they informed them to provide real time information based on real time. So government or law enforcement agency can take matter seriously, and any unwanted incident can be thought away. So this is the impact of we can say that the global media is the issue taken up by the Indian Foreign Affairs Ministry, and in fact our Foreign Secretary also took up the issue with the Bangladesh Foreign Affairs Advisor as well as Professor Yunus to provide safety and security to minorities in Bangladesh. So in fact this is the effect, and in last 1 week or 10 days that there are some sporadic incidents of violence against the minority, but on ground there are reduction in the cases of the violence and intimidation. That I can say from ground.
All right, Nawal Sang, we'll leave it at that. Thank you for your inputs. Nawal Sang Parmar reporting from Bangladesh. The Mithali Express, the inter-country train connecting Dhaka and New Jalpaiguri, has returned to India after being suspended for nearly 5 months. The train rakes re-entered India through the Chilahati-Haldibari border in Cooch Behar district of West Bengal amid heightened security measures. The Mithali Express, designated as train number 1313-231, originally left New Jalpaiguri for Dhaka on July 17 but had been unable to return due to political unrest in Bangladesh. The disruption was caused by the anti-discrimination student movement in Bangladesh. The Mithali Express is a vital passenger link between the two nations. Particularly, it connects Dhaka with northern West Bengal and Sikkim. Apart from Mithali Express, the Maitri Express and the Bandhan Express are the other two passenger trains between India and Bangladesh. Now, India and the United Arab Emirates will carry out a comprehensive review of their strategic ties on Thursday. United Arab Emirates Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Sheikh Abdullah bin Zayed Al Nahyan is in New Delhi to take part in the 4th India-UAE strategic dialogue. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar will host his counterpart from the Gulf nation Abdullah bin Zayed Al Nahyan at the dialogue, where two leaders will review the entire gamut of bilateral strategic ties. The two sides are also expected to deliberate on the regional security scenario, including the developments in Syria. Besides, during the 3-day India visit, the visiting dignitary will also call on Prime Minister Narendra Modi and attend the strategic dialogue and the 15th India-UAE Joint Commission meeting. Earlier, welcoming the UAE leader, Ministry of External Affairs spokesperson Randhir Jaiswal said the visit will further strengthen the multifaceted, comprehensive strategic partnership between India and UAE. Moving on, also visiting India is the Portuguese Minister of State and Foreign Affairs Paulo Rangel. According to a release by the External Affairs Ministry, Rangel will hold a crucial meeting with the External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar on Friday. Then on Saturday, he will participate in some programs in Goa. Notably, last month, Prime Minister Narendra Modi held a bilateral meeting with his Portuguese counterpart Luis Montenegro, where they focused on strengthening economic partnership. PM Modi said that both countries explored opportunities for more collaboration in sectors like renewable energy and green hydrogen. All right, weather updates now. The Indian Met Department predicted cold wave conditions at isolated pockets over northwest and adjoining central part of the country over the next few days. The Met Department noted that cold wave conditions were observed in isolated pockets over Jammu and Kashmir, Ladakh, Himachal Pradesh, Punjab, Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh. Also, chilly winds on Wednesday marked the arrival of cold wave conditions in the national capital, with the IMD issuing a yellow alert, warning of similar cold wave conditions for the next 2 days. In addition to the cold wave, the IMD also predicted dense fog conditions during late night and early morning hours in isolated pockets of East Uttar Pradesh, Sub-Himalayan West Bengal, Sikkim and Bihar. And the India Met Department has alerted that southern states of Tamil Nadu and Andhra Pradesh are set to experience heavy rainfall due to a significant low pressure area hovering over the southwest and adjoining southeast Bay of Bengal. Schools in 12 districts of Tamil Nadu will remain closed due to heavy rain warnings. And this weather phenomena has prompted the issuance of an orange alert for Tamil Nadu, Puducherry, Kerala and Mahe, indicating expectations of heavy rain. A yellow alert signalling rain is in place for coastal Andhra Pradesh and south interior Karnataka over the next 2 days. This weather forecast signifies the potential for severe weather conditions in these regions, which residents advised to prepare for the upcoming heavy rains. All right, we'll go across to Chennai now. DD India's Anbarsan is joining us live to give us more updates on this. Anbarsan, heavy rains likely to continue in Chennai and neighbouring districts. How is the current situation and also what is the forecast?
As you know, the low pressure area in the southwest part of the Bay of Bengal has intensified and reaching the coast of Tamil Nadu for last night onwards. Due to that, there is a heavy rainfall is registered across all the coastal districts and also some interior districts of Tamil Nadu. As we see that particularly the orange alert is given to that Tanjavur and Tirvarur, Pudukkottai and also Ariyalur district, where this low pressure area intensify and it will go in that direction. And the Indian Meteorological Department has predicted last December 7th onwards, a low pressure area will be formated in the Bay of Bengal, and the 12th, particularly today, will be a heavy rainfall across various districts of Tamil Nadu, particularly in KTCC region where we are Chennai. Also registered a very heavy rainfall from yesterday night onwards, and particularly today morning nearly around just 1 hour before a heavy rain across all parts of Chennai has been registered, and particularly in the districts of coastal districts like Delta regions where the heavy rainfall also predicted. And due to that, around 12 districts of Tamil Nadu has declared holiday, and also the colleges of Puducherry, Union Territory and Karaikal also declared holiday. As we know that the cyclone Faisal is just crossed away in a few weeks before, and due to that the heavy rainfall happening again and the low pressure area due to that. So the state and also district authorities are in full swing for mitigation, particularly the low-lying area of various districts, because already water level has increased the various water reservoirs and also dams. Now again the rainfall is registered, so the water cannot can stored in those places. So the district administration also in a fear of that the water level may be increasing again and flood-like situation may happen. So the preparedness of a district and also the various corporations, including Chennai Greater City Chennai Corporation, also in full mitigation.
Anbarsan, also tell us about the areas likely to be most affected, and also the advisory is issued by the government for the schools, colleges, and also for the people who are traveling.
The Regional Meteorological Center in Chennai has said next 7 days. Actually, from December 7 onwards, they have said that heavy rainfall is predicted across from yesterday onwards, from December 11 to next 1 week. And they also given a special advisory to the tourists who are visiting to the Ooty, the hilly areas, because this low pressure area will be traveling and it will go towards the western part of Tamil Nadu. So due to that, the travel advisory also given to that who all are going to Ooty, Kunnur, they also can to take because they can make their tour after a few days, because the heavy rainfall also predicted that. And due to the low pressure area, the adjoining states of Kerala, Andhra Pradesh and Karnataka also having registering a very heavy rainfall, particularly in Andhra Pradesh.
All right, Anbarsan, we'll leave it at that. Thank you for your inputs. Anbarsan reporting from Chennai. The daily proceedings of the winter session of Indian Parliament to resume, with important bills to be taken up for discussions. The Upper House of Parliament to discuss Banking Laws Amendment Bill 2024. This amendment aims to provide greater flexibility and convenience for account holders by updating the nomination rules. While the lower house of Lok Sabha to take up Disaster Management Amendment Bill 2024, readjustment of representation of scheduled tribes in assembly constituencies of the state of Goa Bill 2024. Still to come on this edition of DD India News Hour. Google announces the launch of its most advanced AI model to date, Gemini 2.0. And India's Ladakh and Jammu and Kashmir will host the Khelo India Winter Games in early 2025. And Cuban-British director and ballet dancer Carlos Acosta's The Nutcracker returns for the holiday season in London.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Business updates now. Google announced the launch of Gemini 2.0, its most advanced artificial intelligence model to date, as the world's tech giants race to take the lead in the fast-developing technology. Gemini 2.0 is initially being rolled out to developers and trusted testers with plans for broader integration across Google's products, particularly in search and the Gemini platform. The release sent shares in Google soaring by more than 4% on Wall Street on day after the stock already gained 3.5% after the release of a breakthrough quantum chip. The Youth Robotics Festival was held in the sports complex of the International University of Oil and Gas, which annually brings together young talented designers from all over Turkmenistan. The festival includes 4 key nominations: sumo robot competitions, labyrinth team projects and line followers. The event for participants under 30 helps to reveal the potential of future engineers and forms a professional community capable of solving the most ambitious technological problems. The main goal of the event is to attract young people to robotics, popularize information technology and create motivation among school children and students for further education and work in engineering and technical fields. All right, sports updates now. We'll start with chess. Indian challenger Li Gukesh and defending champion Ding Liren of China played out a draw in the 13th game of the World Chess Championship to remain level on points on Wednesday. The draw match left Gukesh and Liren on an identical tally of 6.5 points each, still shy of 1 point in order to win the championship. The two players signed peace after 69 moves. Liren had won the opening game while Gukesh had emerged victorious in the third game to draw level. The two grandmasters then played 7 consecutive draws before Gukesh broke the deadlock in the 11th game to take a 6-5 lead, but Liren ruled level in the 12th game in a dramatic win. If the final game also ends in a draw, then the title will be decided via faster-paced games as a tiebreaker. And World Football Governing Body FIFA on Wednesday announced that 2030 men's competition will be held in Spain, Portugal and Morocco. The 2030 World Cup takes place across 3 continents and 6 nations, with one-off matches in Uruguay, Argentina and Paraguay hosting celebratory games to mark the tournament's centenary.
It is my great pleasure to announce that the FIFA centenary celebration matches as part of the FIFA World Cup 2030 will be hosted jointly by Uruguay, Argentina and Paraguay. And now we can officially confirm that the hosts of the FIFA World Cup 2030 will be Morocco, Portugal and Spain. Mabruk, felicitación, parabéns, felicidades.
And the FIFA Extraordinary Congress meeting also confirmed Saudi Arabia as the host of the 2034 FIFA World Cup on Wednesday.
it is a great pleasure that I can confirm that the host of the FIFA World Cup 2034 will be Saudi Arabia. Mabruk, Mabruk to our friends in Riyadh.
And the Dominican baseball prodigy Juan Soto has officially joined the New York Mets on a reported 15-year, $765 million contract. The Major League Baseball team confirmed on Wednesday. This is the largest contract in MLB history, surpassing the 10-year, $700 million agreement the Los Angeles Dodgers made with Shohei Ohtani last winter, making Soto the highest-paid athlete in the world. And India gears up for an exciting sports season. Ladakh and Jammu and Kashmir will host the Khelo India Winter Games in early 2025, spotlighting Olympic talent. Meanwhile, the Fit India Cyclothon starts on December 17, promoting fitness and green awareness. And director and dancer Carlos Acosta's new Cuban-inspired version of Tchaikovsky's festive ballet, The Nutcracker, plays in central London. With ballet at its heart, the style of dance is varied too, and it's going down well with audiences and attracting a younger crowd. And India's public broadcaster Prasar Bharati has recently launched Waves, entering the field of OTT platform. Waves provides a complete infotainment ecosystem to digital media and OTT audiences. If you also want great content for free, then download Waves today. And that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour. But do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Abhishek. From all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India News Hour.